Okay, G and H. Now I know I said that they were different, and they're different because they are only 2 terms instead of 3, but they actually are 3 terms. We just have one of the terms as 0. In this case, it's x squared, and then so we got the x squared term, we have the x term, but we don't have the constant, so that would be the plus 0. So now it looks like now it looks maybe a little more traditional where we have the 3 terms. In Y's or H case, we've got the x squared term, but then we're missing the x term. So it's easy enough to do. You just put 0x plus 3. So they both have something in them that is missing. This one is missing here. The right one is missing the middle, where the left one here is missing the end. And so if you just add zeros, 0x, because it's the middle that's missing, so you have to include the x, and the far right here is just a constant. There are no letters associated with that. So if you add the zeros, now we can do this exactly the same way. It's not any more difficult. So complete the square. We're trying to do these. They are quite complicated. -3 comes down, and I have to create a square. Okay, so take the middle number, cut it in half. 6 cut in half is 3. Take that 3, divide it by the number in front, and you're going to get -1. So that's -1. Now you're going to FOIL. You're going to go x minus 1 times x minus 1. And once you get that, you're going to times that all by -3. And it's going to match this exactly, except for the last number. So I'm going to do the cheating way to get that last number. So the last number is going to be -1 squared times by the number in front. So -1 squared is 1. 1 times -3 is -3. So if I was to FOIL this, you would get -3x squared plus 6x minus 3. And that's almost the same as that. We are at -3, but we want it to get to 0. So if we're at -3, let's add 3 to get it to 0. So let's add 3 to get it to 0. And now this thing is in vertex form. So again, -1 squared is 1. 1 times -3 is -3. So we're at -3. What does it take to get to 0? Well, if I add 3 to that, I get 0. My vertex. Change the number on the inside, leave it on the outside. So it's 1, 3. Now I can do my over, up, down. It's 1, 1, 1, 1, 3, 5 times by the number in front. In that case, it is -3. Hopefully I don't show desktop here. I don't know what it's doing. Now, because I am doing -3, just keep in mind it is negative. That's why I wrote down, because of the negative symbol. So 1 times -3 is -3, -9, -15. So from my vertex, I'll go over 1, down 3, over 1, down 9, over 1, down 15. Over 1, down 3. I was doing this in green. On the other side, over 1, down 3. And then over 1, down 9. All the way down to here. Over 1, down 9 to there. And I can't do 15. So that's it. I've created that question there. And I will zoom out so you can take a look at it. And I want to try H right away. H is probably one of the toughest ones in terms of it's missing that 0 term, so you have to really know to add 0x. But if you can get that, it's all the same. So we need to complete the square. First thing I do is carry down this -0.5. That a value stays there, and then I create my square. Now I got to find my number. So take your middle number, 0, cut it in half. 0 cut in half is still 0. And then take that and divide it by the number in front. 0 divided by anything is still 0. So I've got an x plus 0. Now, I need to FOIL that. So you can FOIL all of that and then times this in, but I'm just going to do the trick way, which is FOILing. So 0 squared, I'm just going to multiply the end, so 0 squared, and then times that by the number in front, -0.5. So 0 squared is 0. 0 times -0.5 is still 0. So I'm at 0. What does it take for me to get to 3? Well, I can add 3. So I've completed the square now. my, maybe I'll just repeat that. We have to put a 0x here. I will take that, take this. I'm going to take this negative 0.5, bring it down. I'm going to create my square. To get this number, I take this 0, my middle, cut it in half, does nothing to 0. Divided by the number in front, does nothing, it's still 0, so I wrote 0. Then I could FOIL this, so if you want to, you can FOIL x plus 0 times x plus 0. I actually FOIL that, and then times it by negative 0.5. What you're going to find is that last term will be 0. So how do I get that the fast way? Well, 0 squared, and then times that by the number in front. So 0 squared is 0, times the number in front is negative 0. Times negative 0.5 is still 0. So I'm at 0. What does it take to get to 3? Well, I can add 3. So you can see in blue I've added the 3. Hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, you're going to have to ask me some questions. There is an example just like this in the worksheet. So I would guess that you would have tried that before you contact me. But if you do have any questions, feel free to try. Anyways, we're going to have a vertex. Vertex has changed the symbol on the inside. Well, I could put negative 0, but it's still 0. Leave it on the outside. So 0, 3. So go over 0, up 3. And then I need to go over and down. And I know it's down because there's a negative 0.5. It's a negative. So 1, 1, 1, 1, 3, 5. Times that by negative 0.5. Times that by negative 0.5. Times by negative 0.5. This might seem odd. I like to start the harder one here. 5 times a half, or a half of 5, is going to be negative, because they're all negative here. But half of 5 is 2.5. A half of 3 is 1.5. A half of 1 is 0.5. So it's negative 0.5, negative 1.5, negative 2.5, negative 3.5, negative 4.5 if you continue down. So over 1, down a half. Let's make sure we do this right. Over 1, down only a half square. Over 1, down a half square. Then over 1, down 1.5 squares. So there's the half. There's the 1. So you can see that distance is 1.5 squares. So over 1.5. Then over 2.5. 1, 2.5. Over 1, 2.5. And there you go. So I'm not going to connect the dots so you can really see those points, but you can also just look online. So I'll zoom out here and take a look at the nicer notes that are on the that are already uploaded. But hopefully my explanations are a little bit clear. I do want to acknowledge that it is incredibly difficult for you to understand what I'm saying here, but it's also incredibly difficult for me to tell you what to do. This is a really hard thing to do just virtually. So this is more of a supplement. Hopefully we can do this in class as well.